Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan challenge day 11. Today our words are Fasiq, Mubeen, Kerb, Sal, and Bala. First word Fasiq, Fasaqa, Yafsiq is of the meaning to rebel. Okay, and if you go even deeper, it means to leave the proper place you're supposed to be in. So the Arabs usually would say فسق الرطب عن كرشها. So if date came out of its shelling, of it would be fasaqa. So it's supposed to be in the shelling. It's not supposed to be out of it. So when it comes out, fasaqa, right? فسقت الرطبة عن كرشها. Right? So whenever somebody now says it in the religious terminology, we're talking about fasiq as somebody that leaves, that rebels, right? He's supposed to be walking a certain line, but he leaves that, right? Leaves that line for something else, so he's rebelling, right? He's doing what he's not supposed to do. فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ, right? He's supposed to be following the orders of his Lord, but he leaves that, so he's rebelling, right? He's being a fasiq. From that you have, obviously, fasaqa, yafsuq, and then you have fasiq, and you have fasiqun, etc. And fisq, right? Fisq will be the gerund of that. The next word is mubeen. Now, mubeen comes from bana. Bana means separate, or distinguish, right? So from the bana yabeen, right? It means separate. So when you have bain, baini wa bainak, baini wa bainakum, right? We're talking about a separation between us, right? Baini wa bainakum, between us. When you have abana yubin fahuwa mubin, right? You're making separate, right? And so when you separate something, you distinguish it, right? You make it clear. So mubin means clear, right? هذا بلاغ المبين, right? It's been separated from anything that's similar to it, so you know that. So it's very clear, right? Mubeen, very clear, distinguished. And then you have bayina, and then you have abyan, and then you have all the other words like that. But the root of that is ba, ya, nun. So kerb, the next word is kerb. Karaba yakribu means to come close, right? To intensify, right? So when something comes close physically, right, it intensifies, right? So when you're talking about figuratively, something coming close to you, usually not a good thing. It becomes usually not a good thing, right? Though it could be, right? But usually not a good thing in this sense, right? Kerb is something becoming heavy-hearted on you, right? Becoming heavy, right? It becomes a source of sadness, source of grief. Okay, so kerb is grief, right? Heavy-heartedness, grief, sadness, right? And from that you have Karbala, and we can talk about Karbala later on. But Karbala in Iraq, right? It's called that for a reason, because of that, of the intensity of what happened there with Hussein radiallahu anh, and his family, right? But Kerb comes from that. And then the next word we have is sal, sin lam. Now, this word comes from sa'ala. Now, sal is a dialect, it's a dialectal form of is'al, right? So with the Meccans, they would say salni shay'an, okay? Salni shay'an, ask me something, right? But other Arabs like Tamim or what have you that pronounce the hems would say is'al, right? So some parts of the Quran you see sal bani Israel, is'al bani Israel. That's what it means, right? And then you wonder how in the world that happens. Well, remember I said before that alif, waw, and ya are, for lack of better terminology, weak letters, right? They're letters that can be that produce sounds that can be joined with a sound before it or after it. So sometimes it just gets dropped, right? And you have hamzatul wasl, for example, right? You don't say bi ismillahir rahmanir rahim, you say bismillah. That alif has been dropped, right? Bi'i, Bi'ismi, bismi, right? It joins together, right? And it forms just one sound, right? So you have a lot of words that have the wasl, right? And then you have then you have the hamza that you actually pronounce. But with time, right, these things can get removed because it's easier to not distinguish that sound. So instead of is'al, you have sa'al. Is'al, you have sal, right? And the alif from the beginning and the alif in the middle get dropped. Next word is bala. Bala, not like Bala. That's a whole different bala, right? With the hams. Okay, bala, ba, lam, ya, hamza. Sorry, not ya. Alif maksura. Ba, lam, alif maksura, which is joining of two words, bal and la. Bal and la. Bal means hold up. Actually, and what you're going to say afterwards is going to kind of contradict what somebody said before that. It's kind of like al-istithna. Okay, it's kind of like making an exception to what has been said before. Actually, just contradicting what has been said before. So when you say أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى, right? Alaysa, right? This is a nullifier. In the front, you're saying the one you're asking, the one that created the heavens and the earth is not capable of creating them one more time, right? Is not capable of creating them one more time, and then you nullify that and say, no, actually, no. The opposite of that is true. He is capable of creating them one more time. Or if I ask, for example, Alaysa hadha abuk? Is that not your dad? You would say, Bala. He is my dad. Bala, he is my dad. You're contradicting what's said because you say, is that not your dad? You didn't say, is that your dad? If you said, is that your dad, then you wouldn't say Bala, right? Yeah, so what comes before it has to be in a negative sense, laysa, or it has to have some kind of negative. Usually it's laysa, right? Negative negativity attached to it, so to speak, a nullifier attached to it. So bala, and then you have la, which means no, right? Bal, actually not true.